As you can see, this webinar today is how to ensure you are using the Mental Capacity Act and gaining consent correctly within the care home environment. So within the webinar today, we'll be discussing the Mental Capacity Act process within the care environment, gaining consent, best interest decisions, conducting reviews, and why is it so important to follow the correct process to ensure compliance. I'm just going to stop my video so you don't get me on the top right of the corner. So first of all, consent, mental capacity and best interest decisions within the care environment. To ensure compliance with regulations and best practice, you should have a robust system in place to evidence consent, mental capacity and best interest decisions for day-to-day care and treatment and support, such as the Standex Care 2020 system, which is obviously the system I'm going to show the form on today because it automates it all for you. You don't have to think if you're doing it correctly. You'll know you'll be doing the process correctly to ensure compliance. This is just a little picture here on the right hand side of our app, which works on and offline, and obviously one of our tablets that you can use with the system. Consent is given permission to do something. In health and social care settings, it usually means that the individual gives consent to take part in an activity or to accept some kind of care or treatment. This could be agreeing to have a shower or bath, agreeing to take medication, as well as agreeing to have their details shared with others. It is a general principle that valid consent must be obtained for a person before starting treatment or physical investigations or providing personal care. This principle reflects people's right to determine what happens to their own bodies and is a fundamental part of good practice. For consent to be valid, it must be given voluntarily, freely, without pressure, undue influence being exerted on the person either to accept or refuse the treatment. To have capacity, they must be able to understand the information relevant to the decision, retain it long enough to make a decision, weigh up all information available, and communicate their decision. Please remember, capacity can fluctuate. So they may have capacity in the morning, but they may not have capacity in the afternoon. Can you wait until the decision they have recovered capacity? The Mental Capacity Act 2005 is designed to protect and empower those who lack capacity to make their own decisions about the care and treatment. And this applies to 16-year-olds and older. If they cannot provide evidence of capacity using the Mental Capacity Act, then the decision should be made in their best interests in the least restrictive way. Restrictions include continuous supervision. Supervision can be necessary as a form of support. This doesn't necessarily mean 24 hours a day, but if there are significant periods where supervision happens and not being free to leave, they may not want to, but if they have tried to, would they be stopped? If the best interest decision includes this type of restriction, then it may constitute a deprivation of liberty, and authorisation to deprive someone of their liberty would need to be sought from local authorities. And I'm sure you've obviously gone through the process of urgent and standard applications with your local authority. So coming on to a best interest decision. When making a best interest decision, if the service user has an official advocate, which is obviously an LPA, then they have the authority to make decisions on their behalf. And this is the lasting power of attorney, chosen by the service user when they had capacity and registered it officially with the Office of Public Guardianship. So this would be a document that was filled in. It may have been 10 years ago, it may have been 5 years ago, when they had capacity to make their own decisions. If they do not have capacity, they may obviously assign a deputy. And this is someone who's gained permission from the court to act on the service user's behalf if they don't have capacity and they do not have an LPA in place. One further type of professional can be an independent mental capacity advocate, which is an IMCA, a professional chosen to act on the service user's behalf. a best interest assessor, caregiver, if there is no advocate in place. Whomever makes the decision on their behalf must consider the following: all relevant circumstances, past and present, wishes, statements, beliefs, values of the service user, consultation of others, for example, relatives, carers and friends. Members of the family who do not have LPA and deputy status can still be involved in the decision making and assist care staff to make the best interest decision. Obviously, it will be the medical professional, the professional that is actually providing the care to provide the best interest decision overall, but it's basically stating that getting obviously close members of the family, relatives, etc., to be involved to make sure that everyone is included. There is a code of practice which is available on the Gov website. That is on the resource document. You'll be able to see that. Care homes should be aware of the emphasis is on choice. The service user should be encouraged to make their own decisions wherever possible. This respect, choice and autonomy. There are 5 principles of the Mental Capacity Act 2005. So along with the Mental Capacity Act, people can also make advanced decisions. The Mental Capacity Act also enables someone to create an advanced decision to refuse treatment. This allows someone to state the types of treatment. This allows someone to state the types of treatment they do not want, should they lack capacity to decide for themselves in the future. This may include refusal of life-sustaining treatment. Valid advanced decisions are legally binding and must be followed by healthcare professionals. Provided the treatment and the circumstances set out in the advanced decision apply to the situation in question. To be valid, an advanced decision must be made in writing and must be signed and witnessed. The document contains several pieces of information, and it can help to have conversations with the GP before making the advanced decision in order to ensure it covers what a person wants to do. Along with the advanced decision, you also can provide advanced statements. This is another way someone can plan for their future by creating an advanced statement. This is where they set out their wishes and preferences, including preferences about care, where they will live, what they like or dislike to eat, and even daytime activities and who they do and do not want to visit them. Advanced statements can either be made in writing or verbally. They are not legally binding, but must be taken into account when decisions are made on behalf of the person who cannot make decisions themselves. They are a good way of enabling someone to express their wishes for the future, including both what they do and don't want. So what we're now going to do, that's just a little overall about mental capacity, gaining consent, advanced decisions, best interest decisions. What we're now going to do, we're actually going to go through some scenarios using the Standex Care 2020 system to explain how the process works in a real life environment, care home environment. So scenarios for mental capacity are below. Sally is a resident. She's in a care home and she has dementia. She's had a stroke and has permanent left side weakness, so has difficulty with washing and dressing. She requires medication daily. She has a leg ulcer that has a treatment plan in place to promote full healing. She takes part in daily group activities such as knitting clubs, exercise and art. So our first scenario, which is quite a large one, we've created a care plan for her personal care requirements. The specific decision here is how I want my daily personal care to be delivered. At the time of needing to make a decision, Sally has been assessed as not having capacity to make it. So in this scenario, her daughter, who has the LPA, makes the decisions for her in her best interests and details what Sally's preferences are. The staff then create the washing and dressing care plan for Sally's personal care requirements. If Sally's capacity is not recovered each time the care plan is reviewed, then you wouldn't be expected to complete a redo a mental capacity assessment. However, you would want to review the last mental capacity assessment to check all the details are still correct and is still relevant. If all of this is still the same and Sally still does not have mental capacity, then we just want to be able to sign to say we have reviewed it, to make a note Sally's LPA is happy and it still stands, or we may want to tweak it here and there. For example, Sally's daughter has specifically specified something else. The old one is then archived on the system. You can always retrieve it, and this new version then takes its place and becomes obviously the current MCA agreement or best interest decision. Or it may be that Sally has capacity this time and can sign it herself to give consent, in which case this then supersedes the last one, and so on and so forth. So we're going to go scenario 1. Going to now use the care system. So this is our login screen. Okay, so this is the Care 2020 system. Just so you know, obviously for new and existing customers, when we do new features, what we basically have here, we deploy updates every couple of weeks. So this just gives you a little rundown of what we've done. So we've actually added booster jabs for the COVID vaccination log. So we have a COVID vaccination log. We've added the boosters. Medications, you can now select from 1,000 common medications, and also there's another deployment where you can now do a multiple action for all of your service users in one go. So, but today we're going to look at mental capacity. So this is our menu. Most of you, some of you will be aware, new customers won't, but obviously this is where you can view all the care of all your individuals. The flashing highlights that something needs doing. The red light on the care plan means it's overdue. The amber means it's coming up for review. We're going to be looking today at Sally Webb. So we're going to go into Sally Webb's care plan, and we're going to do the consent and mental capacity. But within the care plan, as a lot of you know, you've got your body maps, you've got your actions, you've got your communication notes, observations, you've got all your assessments if you ever need an assessment. So you can add any assessment to any care plan. You've also got the new risk profiling, so you can create risk profiles, which we'll be doing another session on. And then you have all our active care plans down here. So for this example we're doing now, we are actually doing the day-to-day care, personal care reason. So under this washing and dressing care plan here, this will state the last review. Sally's daughter, Lucy Smith, has LPA and has made a decision about this plan of care. This is to be reviewed monthly. Consent decisions can be viewed under the consent and mental capacity care plan. So within this care plan, you've obviously got your review, which is Lucy Smith, the daughter. You've got any assessments if there is one. You've then got the full care plan for Sally's care, which details about Lucy being the LPA. Lucy has LPA. And then it has all the instructions for the carers, what they need to do. It has a care plan risk profile that she may slip on wet floors when washing and dressing. You also have a body map, so you can obviously record any issues on the body. And then you have care actions, and that's where your day-to-day carer, but we are doing another section on care actions, so I'm not going to go into that too much today. So example 1, it's about Sally's personal care. So here is where you can view the consent history. So this shows you every time it's been published and every time it's been reviewed. And you can view and you can print the old versions if you want. Obviously it says best interest decision consent given, and this is the published copy. So this is the one we're going to be looking at. If you want to review a mental capacity act or best interest or mental capacity assessment, you can press the plus button, and then that will supersede the last one when you save it. But we're going to go and look at the example that we're doing today with Sally. So this was published 20th of September by Lucy Caldwell, one of the carers, and it's what treatment support decision is consent required for? It's day-to-day care. So, and underneath, how I want my daily personal care to be delivered, including washing preferences, toilet perfumes, hairstyling, preferred carers, and clothing preferences. So as we know, for the example, Sally has dementia and she doesn't have capacity at the time of the assessment. So the question here is, so does Sally, is Sally able to provide consent? She's not in this instance. So this will then open your mental capacity assessment. Okay, so the first question is, what concerns triggers have given rise to this assessment of capacity? Sally appears to be confused, unable to make decisions about her personal care due to her dementia. Next question, details of actions taken to support the individual to make their own decisions. We have a drop-down function for this. So this will obviously, you can obviously then choose these. So encouraged to participate, a suitable venue, the time of the assessment, language issues, etc. And there's a little bit of further detail on that. If this decision is not urgent, can it be delayed, or are they really likely or develop the capacity to make it for themselves? In this instance, no. Sally's got dementia; she's unlikely to improve, and she's been assessed as that. So, does the individual have an impairment of the mind or brain? Again, this is a yes and no Twizzler. Obviously, we've said yes for this example. And this is at read only because it's obviously a published copy of this particular MCA and consent. So you then have a drop-down menu, and it might be dementia, learning disabilities, temporary confusions, and you can select from the list. And then it comes down to the mental capacity questions, which you're probably aware of. You've got the can the individual understand the information being provided to them? And then there's a drop down for yes or no, and then but you must provide evidence of why you are believing this. Again, the second question, can they retain it? No, providing evidence. Can the individual weigh the information and available to make decisions? You can say no, you can provide evidence as well. And then can the individual communicate their decision in any way, such as a gestural behaviour? No, provide evidence. Was the assessment impaired based on duress or undue influence? Obviously, hopefully that'll be no. Sally was under no duress or undue influence at the time of her decision. She was in a nice quiet room, relaxed with a cup of tea, for example. Based on the balance of probability and the reasonable belief, does the individual have capacity in relation to the decision? And this is, she does not have capacity. And that's based on the balance of probability and the assessment up here that you've just gone through. If applicable, please record the name, role and contact details of any persons or professions who supported you carry out the assessment and whether they agree with the capacity decision. I am a qualified mental capacity assessor, no other professions were required, but you may have discussed it with the doctor if you're a support worker, for example, or you may have discussed it with your manager or another one of your staff members. If Sally has capacity, do you wish to consent? We obviously know that she doesn't, so it's a no. This will then drop the best interest form in for you. If you'd have said yes, it would give you the ability for Sally to sign it to say, we believe she has capacity to make her own decision. But obviously we said no in this instance, and please complete the best interest form below. So if the individual requires an IMCA, what steps are being taken? She doesn't require an IMCA because her daughter has a written lasting power of attorney for health and welfare decisions. What relevant circumstances were considered before a best interest decision was made? And again, this is a nice drop-down list that you can obviously put the relevant statements you feel that are relevant for this decision. And there's a space for further detail. Once all relevant circumstances considered, please specify what other options are available. Use a balance sheet approach, record a description of the options, benefit, risk of the person. And then here we've put the alternative to Sally not receiving personal care with support staff. She would be provided with the facilities to wash and dress herself in a safe environment independently. However, due to her confusion, this would be unfair and would compromise her dignity. So the outcome of the best interest decision, Sally's daughter LBA has made the decision in Sally's best interest that she should receive support with her day-to-day care. All her support requirements are detailed by Lucy and are recorded in the washing and dressing care plan, which I showed you earlier. There is nobody that disagrees with the decision. Details of any restrictions in the best interest decision and whether a DOLS, or which will now become the LPS in April 2022, and obviously the questions will be changed so it conforms with the LPS when it comes through. And it says Sally will support with her personal care. This may constitute supervision and therefore be deprived of liberty. So an application will need to be made from XXX was sent to the local authority. So it's saying the form was sent to the local authority because we may be depriving their liberty in this instance. The date obviously is automatically put in. Has any specified risk been identified? Any risk with personal care have been recorded in the washing, dressing care plan. She has a risk of foot slipping on the floor, so that's been recorded. And obviously the decision maker in this instance is the lasting power of attorney. It automatically puts the daughter's name in, because when you put the LPA in the system, it automatically puts her name in. She's obviously said yes, and then she signs. If it hasn't been signed, how was consent given? So it might have been a telephone conversation, an email, and this is the date and time it was actually the consent was provided. Okay, so that is the whole form in its entirety. So that is scenario 1. Scenario 2, this is regarding Sally's on various medications. They need to be taken daily. The specific decision here is how I want my medication to be administered. Same as the previous. Sally doesn't have capacity, and her daughter will make a best interest decision. I won't go through it in its fullness entirety, so we've obviously gone through that. But here I will show you the process we've gone through again. So again, up here, the decision is medication admission, how I want my medication delivered. I need to take daily medication for treatments for various health issues and manage. She hasn't got capacity. Then you've got the mental capacity assessment, which we went through, which is going to be very similar to the last one. She obviously doesn't have capacity here. And then that will drop the best interest form, because the LPA is obviously will be her daughter. And down the bottom, the Court of Deputy Health, Lucy, will then make the decision on that behalf. So very, very similar to the other to the other scenario. Scenario 3, Sally has a leg ulcer, needs dressing daily and photographs to track the process. The specific decision here is to have my dressing changed and photographs of the wound to be taken in order to monitor its healing. And again, obviously, Sally, Lucy, she hasn't got capacity, and Sally's best interest to have her dressing changed and treatment plan photographed by staff. So we're going to go to this one, which is dressing change. This is slightly different, obviously, because this is about photos being taken. So it's exactly the sort of same process. Again, she doesn't have capacity, but we're actually asking whether whether we can take a photo of her leg ulcer. Sally was unable to understand what we're saying in the dressing change and needs a photo to be taken. And then down here on the best interest, no IMCAs required, all of the above considered. Sally's daughter, LPA, has made a decision in Sally's best interest. Sally should have her dressing changed as per treatment plan. All her support requirements are detailed and recorded in the wound care plan. There's no disagreements with it. And then again, this is then signed by the LPA, Lucy, to say consent's given for a photo to be taken. And also the dressing to be changed. Scenario 4. Sally takes part in daily activities and has been asked if she wouldn't mind photographs of herself being wouldn't mind photographs of herself taking part in activities to be shared on social media. The specific decision here is to have photos to be taken of her and put on the home's Facebook page. Sally doesn't have capacity. Her daughter will make the decision in the best interest. And then here, we then have photographs sharing on social media. So under here again, it's the same process as before. Photographs on social media. Sally appears to be confused with the mental capacity assessment. So you've got the assessment here. Exactly the same information. Based on balanced probability, she doesn't have it. And then if the individual requires an IMCA, what relevant further information? other outcome of the best interest. Sally's daughter has made the decision in Sally's best interest that Sally should not have photographs of her taking part in social activities shared to social media, as Sally is a private person and is unlikely to have wanted this. This is recorded on the social activity care plan. So in this instance, still a best interest decision, but the decision is different. Obviously, for the wound, Sally's daughter's Lucy has said, yes, I do want a photo of the wound for condition management. But this one for social media and her social activities, she doesn't want photos to be shared on Facebook. The system enables you to take photos on the mobile device at point of care. This can be shared with families, but again, you probably need to do a mental capacity and a best interest decision if they want it shared with the family as well. And then finally, last example, Sally needs a COVID nasal swab to be done weekly as per home policy. The decision here is a weekly nasal swab. And again, that would be the same for Sally. You would be going through this form and you'd probably arrive at the decision that it will be up to Sally's daughter to say, yes, I do want to have a nasal swab. I'm going to give you a slightly different example now. Okay, so I'm going to actually go into this and I'm going to create a new consent for Sally. Okay, so then I can show you the form and how it looks. So it's for medical testing. Say we're going to give the example, Sally does have capacity now. So a weekly nasal swab is needed to monitor for COVID-19. The nasal swab involves a swab being inserted into the nostrils and swiped for 15 seconds in order for an accurate reading to determine negative positive result. If Sally is able to provide consent, this is a simple yes. Sally, do you give consent? And if you're unsure, please click no to activate the medical capacity. But I'm sure in this instance, Sally does have consent. You say yes, you can then get her to sign on a tablet and then obviously the agreed date. If she can't sign, how is it given? It might have been verbally. If you're unsure, if you press the no button here, it then takes you to the mental capacity assessment like we did earlier. What are the concerns? Details of the treatment, and then you've got your 5 questions. Does the service user have an impairment of the mind or brain? This shows you some of the drop downs that we provide for you. So it's nice and simple. The process is easily managed for yourselves through this. Come down to the end of the mental capacity. If Sally has capacity, do you wish to consent before? If you say yes, we believe she now has capacity because we are unsure. Again, this is where you can get Sally to sign and then she can sign here. If you still believe she doesn't have capacity, if you press the no button, it will then automatically take you to the best interest assessment, which may be an IMCA, an LPA, or it may be one of the care team who has to make this decision because they need to make the decision now. So again, come down to the bottom and then decision maker. These are the only decision makers you can have. Court appointed Deputy of Finance, Court appointed Deputy of Health, enduring power of attorney, IMCA, lasting power of attorney Finance, lasting power of attorney Health, or a member of the care team. You do have the other decision maker, but that's going to be very, very unlikely. It may be a doctor in some cases, but it may be a member of the care team. And what the system does, it has all your care team already listed in here, and then I can then give consent to say, yeah, I'm going to do my best interest decision on her behalf to have her nasal swab to make sure she doesn't get COVID. And if she does get COVID, we can provide the best. Source of treatment for her. If you're halfway through a form, don't worry, you can save and continue. So you can just press save and continue, and then you can go back and edit it later. So you can then go back to this. And you can go back and you can see it's on a draft statement then, but I can also go back, edit this. All my information that I've already written is already there. And then I can then save and publish if I want to publish it and make it obviously now it's obviously there. Oh, sorry, it's on this one here, COVID. It's now published and this is the most recent one. So if you want to view the consent history, you can see obviously made by Sally Webb, Lucy Smith, and the weekly swab and who recorded it as well. These can all be printed as well. I am going to print these off for you as well, so I can give you a copy of them. So if you look at the consent history, you can view the last one, and then there's a little print button here. And like a lot of our things on the system, it might try and take you to a printer, but if you save as PDF, it will then save the form as a PDF for you. And it's a 6-page document that you can send to whoever you need to send it to for legal reasons, if you wish. So that's all about mental capacity. These are in little accordions. They go up and down. You've got your risk profiling, you've got your care planning, you've got your inactive care plans, and you've got your monitor care plans if there's any in place. So I hope that was informative for you. Thank you for watching and taking part. If you do have any questions, please use the chat function, or you can use the hand raise. I think it's at the bottom of your panel here, and then you can obviously use the hand raise, and we can ask any questions for you. But thank you very much for coming today. Now I'm going to stay online for 20 minutes or 10-15 minutes, and then we can do a little Q&A.